Hey everybody, welcome back. My name is Mac, and welcome to the 12.1 Elemental Tuning Changes. Now, I released a video the other day about my wish list for Elemental Shaman going forward, and my video editor literally got that to me probably like 10 hours before these dropped. Of course, that's just the nature how it works. But I got a lot of feedback on the video, and I think this is a great opportunity to take a look at these patch notes and just see how it went, right? Everything I talked about in the last video was really just a wish list. I didn't expect any of it to happen, and basically I looked at these briefly already, and none of it happened. No surprise there. And I already had a visceral reaction to this, but after kind of sitting with it for a bit, I want to go through these piece by piece and actually contextualize what I'm thinking about as I'm looking through them all, and just see where I think Elemental is going to be in the next patch. If these remain the same, they might not. I'll get into the PTR later on, but I just want to take a look at these, go through them piece by piece. So let's start off with the first thing, with the hero talent Farseer. Developers notes, in a previous tuning hotfix for Elemental Shaman, Farseer spirits received a small change to their scale with Elemental Fury talent. We're changing several other places where they weren't scaling at the same as other Shaman abilities. Great, so they're effectively buffing the Farseer Grandma and Grandpas, which is fantastic. Chain Lightning now hits 5 targets from 3. This is huge. Actually, that's a very big change. And Lava Burst now also increases damage by a percentage equal to your critical. Oh, so they're changing the Lava Burst crit scaling on your grandmas and grandpas. That's massive. That's actually really big. Cool. But let's see if that changes anything with these other changes, because that is a pretty significant change. All right, what was their developer note here? Elemental Shaman has higher burst during their Ascendance window with the changes in midnight than we would like. I already don't like this. We don't want Ascendance to stop being a noticeable damage amplifier, but the combination of effects that boosted your elemental overload damage from both Ascendance and Apex talents all compounded with each other. We're spreading a lot more damage into your spells to deal consistently higher damage while still getting a nice spike during Ascendance. So this reads to me like they're nerfing Ascendance, buffing our base. I like the buffing our base, I hate the nerfing Ascendance, but we'll see. Power of the Maelstrom has been redesigned. Lightning Bolt and Chain Lightning now have a 15% chance to cause your next Lava Burst to deal 20% increased damage, stacking up to 2 times. Lava Burst consumes 1 stack at a time, so it's not 40%, it's just 20% buff. Okay, so Power of the Maelstrom is... What is... Dude, I don't remember what Power of the Maelstrom is. Isn't that the free Ellie Blast you get? Bear with me, everybody. I'm pretty sure that's the free Ellie Blast, isn't it? Oh, no, it's the one before that. Yeah, casting Lava Burst has a 50% chance to cause your next Lightning Bolt, whatever, to have overloaded an additional time. Okay, so they're just reworking it. Instead of overloading your Chain Lightning or Lava Burst or anything like that, it's just increasing the damage of your Lava Burst. Okay, that's not terrible. I actually kind of like that, because it gives us a reason to Lava Burst again, because we really didn't have much reason to Lava Burst in any situation aside from Farseer. So that's pretty good. I like that change. That's kind of interesting. Developers notes, Supercharge and Power of the Maelstrom both were extra random elemental overloads. We feel that other changes will make your damage more consistent while still allowing other parts of your talent tree to still increase the quantity of power of elemental overload spells. Okay, so they're reducing this, but they're pretty much saying here that don't worry, we're going to change other things that make your elemental overload still impactful, which is important because that's kind of the entire class. Stormkeeper has been redesigned. Your next 2 Lightning Bolts become instant cast and deal 150% increased damage, or your next 2 Chain Lightnings become instant cast and cause an elemental overload on all targets hit. Huge. Huge. I love that. Okay, so my last video, I talked about Stormkeeper and how it just doesn't feel good to hit, right? Because of the current set bonus going away. But having Chain Lightning just auto-overload means you have a much more consistent Maelstrom generation expectation from those spells, which is fantastic. There's no more guessing, effectively, if you have a Stormkeeper. You know how much ballpark Maelstrom you're going to get, which means you'll be much better prepped for casting or pre-casting whatever you need to cast in that moment. I love that change. That's actually huge. Lava Burst damage increased by 30%. Great. Okay, I love that. Lightning Bolt damage increased by 30%. Cool beans. Chain Lightning damage increased by 60%. Okay, That's very big. Yeah, so this is why. This is why they nerfed Ascendance. I understand. Okay. Flame Shock damage increased by 60%. Cool beans. Really redundant. Tempest direct damage reduced by 20%. 20%? Okay, Tempest reduced by 20%. Okay, so this, coupled with these Farseer changes, sounds like Farseer, looks like Farseer is going to be much better off, in my opinion. Healing Surge increased healing by 25%. Cool. Earth Shield increased healing by 25%. Cool. It doesn't do any damn healing anyways. Doesn't matter. Healing Stream 25%. Same exact thing. None of those do healing. Doesn't matter. Ascendance now increases the damage of Elemental Overload by 30%. Was 75%. So this is what, like a 60% or 60% nerf, which is absolutely bonkers to me. We went from 150 to 75 to 30% now. In the course of less than an expansion. So Ascendance got gutted completely. Is there anything here? By the way, Ascendance is still 3-minute cooldown. Baseline. Ascendance. 30% buff. Down from 75. 3 minutes. Why is this a 3-minute cooldown? What is happening? This is atrocious, I think. I would have rather seen this buffed slightly less, and just seen Ascendance left alone or changed somehow, right? But this is terrible. As it stands right now, Ascendance is like a good half of our entire damage, right? It's a huge chunk. So we're losing pretty much completely half of that and increasing not by the same amount here. So I think this is actually going to be an overall net nerf damage-wise, in my opinion. But, I mean, I have no idea. I'll get on the PTR and test it out. It's totally Feelycraft right now. But first glance, fucking hate that. Terrible. Bonus lava bursts when activating Ascendance are now 50% of the normal value. Was 100. Okay, so they're nerfing Ascendance even more. Terrible. Molten Wrath now increases the damage of lava burst by 10%. Was 15%. Whatever. That's probably because they buffed Lava Burst over here by 30%, which makes sense. Apex Talents, Feedback Loop, rank 1. Now increases Elemental Overload damage by 10%. What? 35? And increases Elemental damage by 10%. That's crazy. Feedback Loop now increases grants 15 to 30% crit damage bonus. It was 25 to 50. Dude, they're gutting our Apex Talents. I thought they said they were going to leave Elemental Overload damage somewhere else, but it looks like they're just destroying it. All of this goes directly against what they said here. Random overloads. We feel that after the changes, make your damage more consistent while still allowing other parts of your talent tree to still increase the quantity or power of Elemental Overload spells. The only thing in here about Elemental Overload spells being empowered is your Stormkeeper. And it's not empowered, it's just guaranteeing one. Everything else about your overloads has been nerfed. Everything. Ascendance was nerfed. Elemental Overload damage was nerfed. Crit damage was nerfed. Literally, they haven't done anything to our overloads here. They've nerfed them. How can you have this developer note of, while still allowing your talent tree to increase quantity or power, when you literally just decrease that? You just decreased it. This must have been AI written, because this is just factually incorrect. Alright, Elemental Blast cast from Fusion of the Elements now only grants 40% of the normal duration from Elemental Blast stat buffs. Okay, so they're just nerfing Fusion of the Elements entirely, making it completely redundant, probably. So it's not only a 40% of total power, it's also 40% of normal duration of the buff, which means you have, what, 4 seconds with it? That's pretty terrible. Fixed an issue that caused Voltaic Blaze to not be applied properly. Okay. Elemental Resonance to not affect periodic damage. Okay. Fixed an issue where the Apex Talent did not properly increase the critical damage of several Elemental Shaman spells. I didn't know that was a thing. That's a huge oversight that they're just kind of glossing over. And then Hero Talent, Stormbringer Supercharged has been redesigned. Lightning Bolt, Chain Lightning, and Tempest overloads deal 10% additional damage. Okay. So they were talking about, wow, we're increasing the power of your elemental overload, specifically this one tiny thing by 10%, while decreasing it 20 other places. What a joke. Okay, what do I think this means? Well, I mean Farseer. This means Farseer, in my opinion, because Farseer Chain Lightnings increased to 2 targets. Lava Burst from Farseers do more crit strike damage. Lava Burst, all these things got increased. Chain Lightning got increased. What is it? Where's Stormkeeper, instant cast overloads, great. And then Tempest got nerfed, which means Stormkeeper's not. I don't think Stormkeeper's gonna be dead, but I think they're gonna be hard pressed to keep up with Farseer now, because I think doesn't Chain Lightning only chain to 6 targets anyways? So if you have Farseers now doing that to 5 targets, that is a massive buff. So consider that. Do I like these changes? I don't. Honestly, my gut reaction to this is I absolutely hate it. But I'm not saying it's bad. I'm saying I dislike it. The reason I dislike it is because they're doing exactly the opposite of what I was looking for in my video I posted the other day, where they're removing Ascendance from the game effectively, right? Like it got nerfed by 60%, which is absolutely crazy. But we did get buffs everywhere else, so that might kind of make it a little bit better. But even still, they nerfed the amount of overloads we get effectively because of just... Well, they didn't nerf the amount of overloads we get. They just nerfed the overload damage immensely. So our burst is going to be slightly weaker. Our consistence is going to be slightly better. And we're probably going to be Farseer with 100% everywhere. Like we were this season, we were Stormkeeper. Next season, we're probably going to be Farseer. If these hold, it seems like that's the case, or what's going to happen. I don't necessarily love it. I hate what they're doing to Ascendance. I think Ascendance needs to remain big. The fact that Ascendance is still a 3-minute cooldown is absolutely atrocious oversight. It shouldn't be a 3-minute cooldown. It shouldn't have been a 3-minute cooldown going into the War Within. And here we are an expansion and a half later, and it's 3 minutes cooldown with only a 30% buff. We're still currently behind DKs and like Warlocks and stuff in their burst damage, right? And we're getting a massive cooldown nerf. I don't think that's cool. By the way, their cooldowns are 45 seconds and a minute and a half. What is that? 20% and 50% of our long ass Ascendance cooldown. Ultimately, though, I think this will help the casual players immensely. I think it will. People who are not used to using Ascendance as effectively as possible, this is going to help a lot of people. Plus, since we're being pushed into Farseer with this setup, it's going to help people because just Farseer is a simpler class to play, or spec to play. There's no Tempests to worry about. You're just Chain Lightning spamming, Voltaic Blaze, Lava Burst, and you're good to go. I do love the Stormkeeper redesign, though. I gotta say, this consistency here with the Elemental Overlords guaranteeing your Maelstrom generation is really nice. So that's cool. The only other thing that we won't know is if you get that extra overload from the Apex talents, so that's one thing to consider, but even still. Elemental is going to be a lot easier to play, in my opinion, because we're just getting pushed into Farseer. Ascendance value is getting reduced pretty significantly, but a lot of people will probably like it because the number one comment I've probably had in YouTube overall is, how do I deal damage? My damage is terrible outside of cooldowns. And this is pretty much directly fixing those problems. Which, by the way, elemental damage outside of cooldowns was low. I'll give it to you. It was low, but it's not a problem because that's how the class is supposed to work, or was supposed to work. It was an Ascendance cooldown class. We couldn't keep up with other DPS classes because that was by design. If you didn't have decent damage outside of your cooldown window, it was just player error. But what these do is they make it much easier for the people who were not very comfortable with Ascendance and using it properly. So, personally, do I like these changes? No, I kind of really hate them. Listen, I hate the Ascendance change in particular, and I hate what it represents because it's kind of like an identity shift, right? Elemental was this big burst, mass, crazy jump on the meters class. That was our entire gimmick. And we paid for that by doing less damage over in outside of our cooldown window. What this does, nerfing Ascendance here is it's kind of flipping that identity on its head by allowing us to do more consistent damage, but less burst damage, which I kind of think it's tone deaf. The reason people play Ascendance is because they want those big magic bar bursting moments, right? But I guess people just really did not like how awkward Outside of Ascendance was this season, which sucks because I don't like where this is going. I like the outside of the damage increase, but I don't like what it represents. So, is it good? It's probably good for the majority of players. But for me personally, I don't like what it's insinuating. But anyways, that's my thoughts here. Let's go ahead and jump over to the tier set because those also dropped. Elemental, the 2-set bonus. Earth Shock, Elemental Blast, and Earthquake damage increased by 25%. That's the same exact buff we had in the War Within Season 1. That's nothing. That's stupid. It's a stupid tier set. 4-set. When Stormkeeper or Ascendance fade, your next 2 lightning bolts, chain lightnings, or lava bursts deal 25% increased damage and cause your next earthquake, earth shock, or elemental blast to cost 100% less maelstrom. Interesting. I like that. So your next 2 lightning bolts, or chain lightnings, or lava bursts deal damage and cause your next earthquake, elemental blast to cost. Okay, so this, I need clarification here. Does this mean our next 2 earthquakes, earth shocks, or elemental blasts cost 100% less maelstrom, or just 1? I think you get 2, but that's how. If that's the case, I love this. I think this is a really cool tier set. We effectively get not even an aftershock proc. We just get a refund. I love this. I think this is fantastic. That's great for us. It's an interesting gameplay change. It's going to be... I don't know how it's going to play out because I'm not super familiar with Farseer and keys. But honestly, I think that'll go really well. It's an interesting enough change to make the gameplay feel a little bit different, which is nice. But it's not too big of a difference where it's completely shifting everything on its head. No, everything shifting on its head is coming from these notes. So I kind of like that. 2-set is just a joke. It's why is it even there? Just please think about it. But whatever, 25% is 25%. Great. But this is cool. I do like the 4-set a lot. So yeah, those are the Elemental Shaman changes coming in 12.1, or at least noted to change in 12.1. If you like it, let me know in the below. If you don't like it, let me know in the comment section below. Honestly, I have no idea. I'm going to get on the PTR this week and try to really mess around with it and see how it feels. But my gut reaction here is, look what they did to my boy. Look how they massacred my Ascendance. But it could be better, so who knows. Anyways, that's all I have for today. Thank you all very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and as always, I will see you next time.